So Bill Maher finally got back on his show and told us what happened when he went to the White House and met with Donald Trump. I like Bill Maher and I like going on his show, but he definitely has been suffering from a case of the TDS. Once the TDS gets you, it's hard to come out from under it. But I see shoots of grass, mixing all sorts of metaphors. I think he's starting to come out from under it. And to his credit, he went there. It was brokered by Kid Rock. And to his credit, President Trump allowed it, welcomed this, and was very gracious to Bill Maher, who has been brutal about Trump for many years. So here's a bit of how Maher described the experience in SOT 12.
Everything I've ever not liked about him was, I swear to God, absent, at least on this night with this guy. Bob, Kid Rock, told me the night before, he said, if you want to get a word in edgewise, you're going to have to cut him off. He'll just go on. Not at all. I've had so many conversations with prominent people who are much less connected, people who don't look you in the eye, people who don't really listen because they just want to get to their next thing, people whose response to things you say just doesn't track like, what? None of that with him. And he mostly steered the conversation to, what do you think about this? I know, your mind is blown, so's mine. I never felt I had to walk on eggshells around him. And honestly, I voted for Clinton and Obama, but I would never feel comfortable talking to them the way I was able to talk with Donald Trump.
Pretty extraordinary, Walter. I'm starting to see the veil come down. You know, he's starting to see the man that a lot of us have seen for a long time now if we don't have the TDS. You got it. It's hard. If he comes out from the TDS, he might be one of the only ones to have ever actively had it and then shed the disease.
I really like Bill Maher, and I've been on his show, and I love talking to him after you do the show. He usually throws a party. From talking to him, I've gotten to know that he really believes what he says most of the time. And I am sure he believes everything he said about Donald Trump. And he sounds genuinely surprised. And that was a huge risk for him to go and to come back and to be that sincere and genuine. He's taking nonstop hell for it. I mean, people are using every obscenity to tell him to go away right now. And I kind of admire him for it. You don't see actual risks taken in the media. They talk about audience capture. Everybody ends up a slave to their audience's prejudices. Well, he took the risk of not being. And he sounds a little like a kid, you know, who just danced with a girl and said, they're really not scary and they're not mean. They smell kind of good and they're soft all over. And that authenticity is touching to me. And boy, the abuse won't stop.
Yeah, he was pretty defensive about that. Let me play Stop 14.
My favorite part of the whole night was we were standing in the blowjob room.
Bill Clinton's Monica Lewinsky room.
We were. And he said, you know, I've heard from a lot of people who really like that we're having this dinner. Not all, but a lot. And I said, same. A lot of people told me they loved it, but not all. And we agreed. The people who don't even want us to talk, we don't like you. Don't talk, as opposed to what? Writing the same editorial for the millionth time and making 25-hour speeches into the wind? Really, that's what liberals have? He takes the piss out of everybody else and we can hold ours? Okay, that's my report. You can hate me for it, but I'm not a liar. Trump was gracious and measured, and why he isn't that in other settings, I don't know, and I can't answer, and it's not my place to answer. I'm just telling you what I saw, and I wasn't high.
That's the only part
Matt, I was trying to figure out how why this doesn't irk me the way the Morning Joe trip to Mar-a-Lago irritated me. Because that one I just felt was performative. I really felt like they wanted access to a person in power who they had been so unfair to for years. I mean, that show in general is just such a lie and so unfair. And I don't feel that way about Bill Maher or his show at all. I think he's an honest broker. And he has, Trump supporters on all the time. It's just he isn't one. He hasn't been one. So I agree that it was a courageous thing for him to do, for both of them to do. And I give Trump tons of credit because Maher's been a chief antagonist. Your thoughts?
Well, in addition to being an honest broker and I think believing what he says, and like Walter, I've been on his show and I've talked to Bill many times after the show and always enjoyed talking to him. He's also a natural comic. And I think one thing that he really struggled with in the last 8 years was the sheer quantity of laughable stuff that came out of the quote unquote left that he was told he wasn't allowed to laugh about. And that I think that was a big factor for him, sort of being told that there are things that are off limits, and the not so veiled threat that if you even entertain the idea of calling Donald Trump sane or a normal politician in public, that your career is going to be over. Now, Bill is just big enough that he can avoid the fate that most everybody else who went there experienced. And I think, this thing that he did, I think it's a significant moment for media, because now there might be some other people who come out of the woodwork and say, you know what, I'm just tired of saying the same stuff over and over again and not really fully believing it.
I wonder if it's going to change at all the way he covers the president, because he's definitely been tough on Trump. He's very tough on Democrats too, by the way. He hates wokeism. He's been a very strong ally in that battle. But usually on Trump, he's saying something negative. And so I do wonder now if he'll start saying more positive things, Walter. And if so, what happens with his audience?
Bill's got a unique relationship to his audience. He's always challenging them, really. I mean, every Bill Maher show has something that's a little uncomfortable for people that doesn't play to their prejudices or their, assumptions. So this is the biggest case of that yet. And I think his audience is going to stick with him. But I think he'll stay just as tough on Trump, but it will be more issues based.
Mm-hmm. I think he's going to stay tough on Trump as well. He's just, he doesn't like Trump. I think that's still true, but I think he saw like a glimpse of the man, like that we actually know, like the real Trump, and not the fighter who's out there being attacked all the time, who's got to be, tough and is tough in return. And, Bill Maher, among many others, has thrown some very tough punches his way as well. So anyway, I am in favor of the meeting. I feel very differently about it than I did about the Mar-a-Lago Kiss the Ring-a-thon by members of the media who make their living tearing him down with lies. That's not what Maher does. You've heard about tariffs recently, plus inflation, supply chain disruptions. It's a lot, but there is a silver lining that most people missed. President Trump specifically exempted gold and silver bullion from the tariff talk. The administration preserved the ability to diversify into precious metals. If you are concerned about your savings, consider a free consultation with a Birch Gold Precious Metals specialist. The first step is to text MK to 989898 and receive your free no-obligation info kit on gold. Learn how to hold gold and silver in a tax-sheltered account. Birch Gold will help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a gold IRA for no money out of pocket. With an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau and thousands of thankful customers, consider texting MK to 989898. Again, text MK to 989898 to claim your free info kit right now. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.